Crisis averted, ladies and gentlemen. What a relief. Thank God we solved this problem. Car talk? It's a car. It's got to be some kind of a code. They're clearly talking to the Russians. I am so relieved. Finally get these guys off my radio. Finally, my Republican friends are doing it. Kudos to you.
And kudos to you, Congressman Anthony Weiner, for once again dominating the C-SPAN highlight reel in the discussion yesterday about cutting off funding for NPR. You know what, Devin, does he actually get residuals every time he's done one of these?
I bet he does. Top Line starts right now.
Welcome to ABC News Top Line. I'm Amy Walter.
And I'm Devin Dwyer.
Every day at noon Eastern, we bring you the latest in politics. You can follow us on the Twitters at Amy E. Walter and at Devin Dwyer. With that, Devin, first of all, glad to see you here at the desk. And what's your first top line today?
Well, Amy, it's deja vu all over again. That's right. Congress passed its sixth short-term budget resolution yesterday. President Obama signed it today. And everybody's promising that this will be the last. But getting that long-term spending bill is not going to be easy. The debt limit is looming. And talks, Amy, among the big players here in D.C. are going to have to wait at least another week with the president of the country and Congress going out on recess.
Right. And it seems every leader, Democrat or Republican, keeps asking the president to do one thing, which is to come and sit down at the table and actually start these negotiations. Of course, if you're the president, wouldn't you rather have Congress doing that for you?
Yeah, it's going to be a little while.
It's exactly right. All right. Happy anniversary, or not, depending on who you are. It's the one-year anniversary next week of the passage of the health care reform bill, and the Kaiser Family Foundation poll just came out today, and it finds that Americans are more soured on the law than they were last year. Take a look at this. A favorable opinion of the law in April of 2010, 48%, unfavorable 40%. But now, a year later, almost, March, favorable opinion now only 42% and unfavorable up to 48%. Here's what I think is even more interesting. Take a look at this one. Do you think that you are better or worse off under this health care, you and your family? Better off, this is again in April, basically evenly divided, better, worse, or no difference. Now, fast forward to today, and what they find is a whopping 69% of Americans think, again, a year after this bill passed, that they're either worse off or nothing has changed.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bottom line in this poll is confusion continues to reign over this law. People don't know what's in it for them. And in fact, we were just talking, the Kaiser Foundation found last month that 50% of people they polled actually thought the law incorrectly was repealed. So a little bit shocking there. All right, next up, Swing State Project. That's right. Anybody else noticing a pattern here? On Tuesday, to kick off Education Week, President Obama gave interviews to TV stations in Albuquerque, Pittsburgh, and Hampton Roads, Virginia. Today, he previews his trip to Latin America with stations from Miami, Philly, and Charlotte. Of course, all those are in key swing states Obama hopes to win again in 2012. And yet, Amy, it's another sign that the campaign has begun.
Yes, because, you know, I'm sure there are other states that would benefit from trade to Latin America, as well as education. Most states are involved in education. But yes, we're seeing the very beginning of the 2012 strategy, which is when you're the President of the United States, you have to speak to the whole nation, of course, but it doesn't hurt to talk to those swing voters every chance that you get.
States.
And finally, the sun also rises. Well, we know Henry Barber, son of Mississippi Governor Haley Barber, is heavily involved in helping his dad's still unofficial bid for the White House. But it seems like another son, Sterling Barber, isn't all that excited to see his dad make the race. In a private email to conservative columnist Bill Kristol, here's what Sterling wrote. He was actually not very happy with a rather scathing article that Bill Kristol wrote about his dad. He said, quote, "I'm a private person. I don't want him to run. I'd prefer not to listen to people like you talk bad about any member of my family, but this decision is bigger than me. If he runs, I'll be his biggest supporter." Wow. So as we know, the hardest decision for a lot of these candidates to make is the toll for running is the toll that it takes on their family. And you can see in an email that he didn't expect to go public.
Way to stand up for your dad.
I know, that was very nice. All right. We have today the latest installment of the Subway series by our congressional correspondent and political correspondent, Jonathan Karl. He was up on the Hill yesterday sitting down with Sherrod Brown, who, by the way, up for re-election next year. Take a look.
Senator Brown, welcome to the Subway Series. Your debut on this. This is the first time. Are you nervous?
I thought it was baseball. I didn't this is great. This is okay.
Yeah, well, no, this is the way to do it. These are actually Pumas.
These are Pumas, and I guess I'm not really going to demonstrate, frankly, but yes, they are Pumas.
But now,
and they're light, and I walk on marble floors around here, and I can take them off at the airport.
And
put 'em back
how
on.
big is the Puma caucus here?
I think it's 2. Sheldon Whitehouse and I think are the only 2. Yeah.
Do you guys
so
get
have you seen this
product,
before? You've done this before?
Did you get any endorsement deal here from
no
Puma?
endorsement deal.
Big news out of Ohio. Your governor has come out with his budget. John Kasich says he's finally, going to get to balance without any smoke and mirrors, without any tricks. And I'm just wondering what your sense is.
Well,
Is Kasich on the right path here?
No, I mean, I think I heard the governor and all the Republicans running this year in Ohio campaign on lost jobs, that we had lost a lot of jobs and we needed to create jobs. And the way I see them governing is by ideology, just like here. They're going after Social Security, and they're going after things like like all kinds of programs that matter to homeless
National
vets.
Public Radio.
And public radio, and things that are really a political agenda.
Okay, but in Ohio and in Washington, you've got major budget issues. And Kasich's trying to do it with cuts there, like you said, selling some assets. Republicans here are talking about tackling entitlement reform and going from serious cuts. Where are the Democratic solutions?
The Democratic solutions are clear. First of all, the Republicans continue to push for tax cuts for the rich, continue to push for deregulation of Wall Street. 2 of the things that got us into this economic mess and this budget mess, they want to do the same things. They're more.
But are you going to balance the budget by raising taxes on the rich?
You move towards a balanced budget by putting everything on the table, by a millionaire's tax, by cuts in farm subsidies, by generic drugs, speeding up the process. There are lots of ways to move towards a balanced budget. You can't take a tiny part of the budget, as the Republicans have done, so-called non-defense discretionary. Right. It's less than 1/6 of the budget, and make all the cuts there. You've got to look at other things. One of the most important things is staying on schedule, starting in July, on withdrawing troops from Afghanistan, because one, it's not working so well, and second, because of the cost of that to American taxpayers.
Okay, so Afghanistan. Do you think that the president gets that message?
I'm hopeful. The president said he's going to begin the withdrawal in July. I'm very hopeful he does. I think that's a very important thing. We spent so much money in Afghanistan and not had the money to do infrastructure in Cleveland and Cincinnati and Columbus and bridges and highways and broadband in Zanesville and rural areas that we need to do.
Because he hasn't said what kind of a withdrawal we're going to see.
Well,
I mean, what do you see? I mean, is moving a few troops out?
No, I think the withdrawal begins in earnest, and a systematic withdrawal of troops out of Afghanistan. I think we've been there too long. I think it was the right thing to go in. 10 years ago, it has not been done right because the Bush administration lost its focus in Afghanistan, going to Iraq, a terrible mistake for our country and for the people who sacrificed, the families who sacrificed their loved ones. I think we need to wrap up in Afghanistan and move in that direction.
We haven't heard a lot of that up here from your colleagues.
People aren't talking about it much because, unfortunately, the sacrifice of war in the last 10 years has been a huge sacrifice by a small number of people, and the Bush administration failed to pay for these wars.
But so you'll be talking about Afghanistan, you'll be pushing this.
I will be pushing it, and so will a lot of my colleagues, I think.
Yeah. You're up for re-election. I mean, are you prepared to go out there and run for re-election in Ohio on a platform that includes tax increases?
I've said it before. I think we should do a millionaire's tax increase, because I would simply bring it back to what it was during the Clinton years. I think we should close these tax loopholes. I think we should stop doing the kinds of tax cuts for the wealthy and more Wall Street deregulation that the Republicans set up in the last decade that's caused lost jobs.
Okay, so let me just ask you about the nature of the problem here, because when you hear Republicans talk about the deficit, about the debt, it sounds like it's catastrophic. Like this is the central challenge of our time. Do you see it that way? I mean, how big is this problem?
I see our first priority is job growth. You don't to eliminate the deficit, to get to a balanced budget, as we did in the 1990s with a Democratic president and a fairer tax system. To get to a balanced budget, you need to have economic growth. So the focus has to be on jobs first.
Okay, so how are you going to vote when it comes to raising the debt limit?
I likely will vote for raising the debt limit. I think responsible people here will do what we need to do on the debt limit because it's you can go up to the precipice on the continuing resolution. You can't do it on the debt limit.
Do you think we're headed to a government shutdown?
I hope not. I hope that I don't have any idea. I need the president needs to engage. The president needs to make that case clearly. It seems to me that John Boehner doesn't want to shut down.
Did the president make a really big mistake just this week? He picked Ohio State to lose over Kansas.
Make the finals, made a terrible mistake. But Kansas is his grandmother's home state, so I don't know how you explain it.
I mean, but what do you? I mean, are you gonna bring this up with him? I mean, is this?
I will bring it up. There are other things on the agenda too.
Yes,
like,
I understand,
Like trade
but Ohio-
enforcement and jobs and all that. It'll be on the. Yes, it will.
Does Ohio State win?
Ohio State wins, yeah.
All right,
National
right.
champions. All right.
All right.
Subway Series. Thank you.
Okay, there you go. Thank you.